this will be for the con assignment, calculating factorials. So it says we are going to build a snake bot using 7 different segments. How many different snake bots can we make? So we have 7 different segments. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. So we're basically using the fundamental counting principle. All right. So if we have 7 different segments, for the first segment, we can choose from any one of the 7. Okay. For the second segment, we already used one of the 7, so now we have 6 to choose from. For the third segment, we already used 1, 2 of the 7, so now we have 5 to choose from. And so it goes, 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Okay? Now you can multiply all that out, but there is a function that does that, and that is the factorial function. So it's just 7 factorial. Okay, and we're going to do that on the calculator. But what the factorial function does, let's say you have a number and followed by a factorial. That means you start with that number and you multiply and decrease it by 1 each time. So you start with n, then you decrease it by 1, so that's n minus 1. You decrease it by 1 again, n minus 2. And you keep going, n minus 3, and keep going until you get to the number 1. All right? So that's all it is, the factorial function. You multiply, you start with the original number and you decrease it by 1 each time. And you just multiply all those numbers. So this right here equals 7 factorial. Okay, if we hit show calculator, let me see. Okay, unfortunately, the calculator on Khan does not have the factorial function. So you'll have to use your own or just Google it. Google the word calculator. All right. So here, again, 7 different segments. That's going to be 7. And then I'm going to click the factorial button right here. In case you can't see it, it's N with an exclamation mark. So I click that, and it's 5,040. Okay, so that's your answer. So click in the box, 5040, 5,040. All right. So here we're dividing 200 factorial divided by 199 factorial. Now these numbers are too big to put in the calculator, but I will show you. 200 factorial is the same as 200 times 199 times 198. All right, and it keeps going until you get to the number 1. And 199 factorial is in the denominator. Okay, that's going to be 199 times 198 times 197, and it keeps going until you get down to the number 1. Okay? So what happens with something like this is that almost everything cancels. These are all multiplied in the numerator. These are all multiplied in the denominator, so we can cancel. 199 divided by 199 is just 1. 198 divided by 198. 197 divided by 197. And of course, it just keeps going until you get down to 1 divided by 1. So everything cancels except for the 200 that's left over. So 200 factorial divided by 199 factorial is just going to be 200. Okay, we're going to build a snake bot using 6 different segments. How many different snake bots can we make? All right, we already did one just like this. All right, you have the 6 spaces. It's just 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. Okay, which is the same as 6 factorial. So you just do that on the calculator, 6 factorial. All right, click 6 and then hit the exclamation point or end exclamation point, and that equals 720. So you just enter that in the box. Okay, here they are asking what is 500 factorial over 499. 500 factorial is going to be 500 times 499 times 498, and it just keeps going until you get down to 1. Okay, 499 factorial is going to be 499 times 498, and it just keeps going until you get down to 1. So everything will drop out. 499 divided by 499, 498 divided by 498, and it will just keep going until you get down to 1. Everything cancels, and you're left with 500. So everything drops out except for the 500. So that's it, 500. And that's it. Okay, here's a good one. 9 factorial is 362,880. What is 10 factorial? All right. So if you have 10 factorial, that's going to be 10 times 9 times 8 times 7 and so on until you reach the number 1. And if you have 9 factorial, that's going to be 9 times 8 times 7 and so on until you reach the number 1. Okay? So if 9 factorial equals 362,880, we can replace all of this with 9 factorial, which is 362,880. So 10 factorial is just going to be 10 times 9 factorial, which is going to be 10 times this number, 362,880. All right. And when you multiply by 10, you just add a 0. So that's going to be 362,880 and add a 0. All right, so that's it. You don't need the commas in the answer. So type 362,8800. So all we did was add a 0 because 10 factorial is the same as 9 factorial times 10.